And you know what? Screw it. I am doing the at everyone.
Do it.
Let's go.
All right.
There we go. Awesome.
So, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Voron Live. Today, as I'm sure you've all figured out, we are discussing the new Trident release. We're going to have RCF, Steve, Atomic Vector Plotter, and a few others talk about all that went into the Trident R2 release and go from there. For those who we've not met, I'm Doc. I'm the moderator for these sort of things, but I'm just here to help kind of keep things on track. But so I guess, Steve, since this is yours, baby, you want to dive in?
Sure. So we're releasing Trident R2 today. I know this is a long time coming, but it is one of those things that you gotta wait for inspiration to hit, and inspiration has hit in increments over the last couple of years, and it really came to a head here over the last 6 or 8 months. Working on pieces, putting it together, getting a lot of the team involved for um, refining things and getting the all the extra documentation and stuff together and such. So I think what I'm going to do is I put together a group of slides instead of going through and rotating CAD and hiding and unhiding things. I just put together some highlights of what is Trident R2. Um, so let me switch over to this. And I know it is the reason it's formatted this way is so that I can resize things as I need to. So Trident R2, it's focused on a motion system upgrade. It got to the point where you try to do everything in the printer, try to do a full printer refresh, and it's just taking way too long to do so. So really focusing on the motion system, things that are impactful, and then the intent is to do more frequent incremental upgrades to other parts of the printer. Skirts like that. It's hidden behind me, but the bizetic display that we use, the 12864 display, is, as we all know, is very dated. So that'll get replaced. So going into the motion system, so we're going to start with the gantry. So let me see. Is everybody able to see and make things big and all that?
That's what I'm. It's saying they can't see your screen. Well, Clog Nozzle says
Can't
no.
see my.
Yeah, so I think that may be
Yeah.
yeah, it's an end user issue, not us. Good. We're good.
Click on me. It'll make it large. You're on mute, Max.
There we go. Click on the thing that looks like a gantry. It'll make it bigger.
So starting with the gantry, complete gantry. Every part in here has been completely remodeled, redone. Starting with the PA drives, the bad drives. They have been completely remodeled and shifted back 3 millimeters, which is giving a little bit of extra travel on Y. So support for um, longer shaft steppers and a bearing to support it, so you can run higher belt tensions. We'll have Zorencho on here in a little bit, going over some of the testing he's done on this and talking about that. The major difference is in the belt path, and the next slide is going to show that. But one of the results of that is this giant opening here in the corner. The extrusion is here, and this opening here is a great place to send wires, to send a PTFE tube if you have an internal spool. But as you can see, the bearing stacks change location dramatically, and I'll show you that in the next slide. Another thing is the parts got an extra millimeter thicker. So instead of 5 millimeters thick on the plates, they're 6 millimeters thick. So support for long shaft steppers and double shear. There is a shorter, easier to route belt path. The belt path is 53 millimeters shorter as compared to Trident R1. The stepper is held in with all 4 stepper screws. It was held in with 3 in the previous design. The end stop on the side, there was an M3 there to accommodate that in R1. All fasteners holding the BA drives in are M5s now. And there is some other stuff. So let's go into the next. So here's an indicator. This is the belt path. So this is the B and the A belt path. This is R1 there on the left and the updated R2 on the right. And this is where we get that 53 millimeters of shorter belt. Should be no background music. Yeah, I don't have anything running. Oh, you can turn it on individually. You can't hear me talking? I don't know.
Some people
There
apparently
is a
can't.
thing. So there is a thing with stages that sometimes you have to go in and instead of setting default on your audio in Discord, actually specify your output. I've had that many times going into stages. It's specifically in Discord stages that's a bug. So
Yeah, but anyways,
anyway, this is indicator. So the bearing stacks have moved here as opposed to the back of the printer.
And then we picked up
Okay.
an additional bearing stack.
Yeah. So in order to do that, it's 2 double stacks instead of a double stack and a single stack.
Yep.
And another feature is on I had a little thing with these with printed indexing features, holding these 2 halves together. You want to try to make sure that they stay exactly aligned with each other. That makes sure that the bearings are perfectly aligned, that kind of thing. And printed versions of that are very hard to get a tight fit. So I had the idea to use M3 socket head screws. And this is just illustrating that when you're going through the manuals and you're wondering what these are, this is where they are, and they help to make sure that the the 2 parts are exactly aligned. Diode King, the CAD model doesn't have the longer shaft steppers there, but you can figure that out. You get a little glimpse here. There's all new Y end stop solutions. There's both a switch pod there, and then there's a bumper if you're running the end stop on the XY joint. Then there's a little screw there so you can adjust where the trigger point is. That's it on the BA drives. And so XY joints, another one that is completely remodeled from scratch, all based on the original stuff, but starting from sketches to make it easier to modify. There was a long-standing error in the belt alignment of 0.173 or something millimeter offset on the idler. That's been fixed. Belt path here. The thing I want to show here is there is a huge attention in the in belting to try to make belting easier. So you kind of push the belt in a direction, and there are printed features here like this that guide the belt around the idler, around the front. So, and then the whole thing got a little shorter and an accent piece here. Before we go there, the other major difference is we got rid of all of the M5 by 40 socket head cap screws in favor of the button heads. And that was due to stack up of parts, not enough room to sink the socket head in, and wanting to better support the M5 by 40 around the idler. There is extra material, extra plastic on these, so big theme you'll see in the change is trying to be mod friendly. So for those that want to run live idlers or whatever, there's extra plastic here to really facilitate that. And if you guys see any questions in here, feel free to jump in, highlight them. I can answer.
Will do.
So the M5x40 is completely removed from the bomb, same as the hex nuts that they used to tighten into. Those are completely removed in favor of adding M5 heat set, which I forgot to mention when I was going over the BA drives. So there's a M5 heat set added to the bomb, and it's used several places. So belt path, and then this accent piece serves as a easy to modify end stop solution piece. So in the files is the part for the PCB micro switch end stop solution. I promised Shammy that I would do a Hall effect one, so that's coming, but it's not out there yet. And little covers and stuff. Front idlers. This is pretty much where a lot of this started. So the idea of coming up with a revised, hopefully improved front idler setup. I had a requirement to single screw adjustment in line with the belt path and trying to constrain the motion of the bearing of the tensioning assembly to where it can't tilt. So a big problem with R1 design is that the idler can tilt and then cause your belt to ride up on the bearing stack and cause belt wear issues. So these are I came forward to the team with this idea of this single screw design, but then the idea of writing the carriage, the tensioner carriage on PTFE guides, and brought that to the design team. And Hart K took that and integrated that into Klee's beefy front idler design. Mm-hmm. So these all have DNA derived from Klee's BFI with my ideas of single screw adjustment and PTFE writing on Hart K, designing this into the BFI format, and that the particular screw setup of the tensioner carriage, where all fasteners are pulling through the heat sets, so everything should be very strong. There is a M5x16 in here, but a pin drops right in if you want to do pins or whatever. These are the PTFE tubes that the carriage rides in, and it ends up being a really smooth, very constrained assembly. I'm really pleased with it. I'm pleased with the evolution of it, how it came out. And then in the belt path here, there's a feature here to help push the belt in the direction. Yeah, this is one of the things that we're most excited about getting out there. This is one of those things talked about pushing it out without any other updates, because the thought of it being a pretty big benefit to folks. I only put this here to remind me to talk about it. We talked about incremental updates in the future, and there will be more updates to the carriage, the tool head, that kind of thing. But for right now, the minor change is getting rid of M3 hex nuts, or M3 hex nuts, as well as M5 hex nuts are gone. M3 hex nuts are gone. M3 nylock nuts are still there. We have those in the Z assembly, but the M3 hex nuts are gone, replaced by heat sets holding this together. And that's really the only reason that's here is to.
And this is, I want to note, the second time we've replaced these. Because I replaced them, then they came back. Then now you're replacing them for the second time. So,
oh yeah,
maybe this time they'll stick. Who knows?
Good call. Okay, so that's the That was the XY motion system. The other major change is into the Z motion system. Oh, let me back up a little bit. These front idlers are also similar to the BA drives being 3 mm shorter. These are 3 mm shorter. So we're gaining a full 6 mm of travel in Y. There is that right there is a M3 socket head screw. The only reason that's there is to help guide people to not install the Y rail too far offset. So that is that. Other things, didn't get a good picture of it, but you can see here the front idlers attached to the front vertical extrusions as well, which helps line everything up. Install from the front and then from the side there.
Holtz is asking how much filament you need to upgrade from R1 to R2 in your
The
estimation.
only required print, it's less than a kilogram of each. It's way less than a kilogram of each.
Yeah, because someone pointed out in chat, like all the skirts and all the cosmetic bits didn't change. So really, it's just the gantry and the Z motion system. It's less than a kilo. It's probably half a kilo of main and probably quarter kilo on accent, if that. So it's pretty simple and pretty light in terms of printing needs. And then Paul, your question about improved speed and better resolution. Zaruncho is going to be talking about that because he did a whole lot of testing on it for as a part of our development work. So he'll be up in a little bit with more slides, graphs, and other pretty things.
Yeah, thank you. For those asking about delta between R1 and R2, there is in the Voron design configurator, which is live right now, there is a delta page there that'll give you the quantity of fasteners such that you need between them. Okay, so the Z assembly. So the goal here was to give more flexibility. The core goal with the Z assembly was give more flexibility in the position of the bed. By inherently, the Trident design is pretty rigid in where the bed needs to go. And I got a couple of slides here that'll kind of demonstrate the difference between the old and new. So this is the top down of just the pivot points and the bed frame. The big difference here is the GE5C bearing has been moved far to the side. You'll see where that gains us in the next slide. So this is one of the front pivot points, and the top here is R2 and the bottom is R1. This was the amount of space that we had to work with on the previous design. It's a couple of millimeters of space there. So rotating that GE5C around freed up 8 or 10 millimeters of adjustment space there. And that's even with another change that I'll talk about here in a second. The Z steppers moved back 4 millimeters. So you'll see here the lead screw would go through here. It's 4 millimeters shifted on the new design. And this is the rear. So in order to get that adjustment space in the rear, I had the idea of moving the MGN9 rail to the side. And I was originally going to move it to the right side. And as an example of the collaborative, we generally have one person, me in this case, working on a design, but we have continuous discussion in channels. And one of our other members, Kylisa, I had originally wanted to move this to the right side, and they suggested moving it to the left side and just integrate it with the cable chain mount, and that kept the right side freed up for things like filters or like my CPAP setup or stuff like that. So This is illustrating the amount of adjustment space available in R2, where there was basically nothing available in R1. So between the front and rear, you could move R1 not really at all, but now with R2, you change this piece, you change this on the three corners to shift the bed. And that's easy because the full native CAD is out there for all of this. So
you just gotta brush it past that.
yeah, I'm not brushing past, and I'll cover it more. But
Okay. There's implications, my man.
well, there's explanations. So yeah, I'm sorry, Clee. I'm not sorry. Anyway, this is the like I said, the big motivation beyond these around these changes to be able to move that bed back and forth. For the Z motors, the big motivation behind change here is trying to get a more consistent assembly as far as the alignment of the Z stepper and lead screw to the lead screw nut. And my theory before was on the previous version, we had 4 M5 screws holding this big plate, basically only from one side of the stepper though. And you tighten those down and that could affect a tilt or on the stepper. So changing this to where the stepper mounts bolt in to the corner here should and does lead to a better aligned Z stepper setup. You're right, Clee. Now, this little cutout here in the corner is nicely positioned for a wire path. So there's quite a bit of space there to be able to fit both a USB cable for a camera and maybe extra wires for like front steppers, that kind of thing is all built into the design. The side effect of this whole thing also is you use the exact same parts if you want to do an inverted electronics plot. So it all works perfect with that.
FYI, your sound sounds a little crunchy.
Mine?
Yeah. I think your beard's
Okay.
hitting the mic.
There we go. I will not move my beard around like this. And this is just pictures of the rear Z stepper mount. It's effectively the same thing, bolt in from the side. There's a little tool to install it centered on the, just cut it off, no. Centered on in the rear. We're almost at the end here. Filament path. I wanted to change a bunch of this. Move the spool holder to the side and a new PTFE holder. I took the 45-degree angle PTFE inlet on the back that I worked on a while back and brought it in and modified it a little bit for the design. It makes for a super. I mean, this top view is just to show how smooth and short the filament path can be on here.
Mm-hmm.
This is a great question. Shoot. We're gonna go. Hold on. Someone said something that. Yep. Is that better?
Yes.
Audio? Shoot.
What happened?
I was going through the AirPods instead of
Oh,
nice microphone. Oh no. I'm sorry, everybody.
well, that sounds amazing. Oh my god.
For once, the audio problems are not my fault. Yay!
I go through my entire presentation with bad audio.
It wasn't bad. It just wasn't
apologies. Perfect. Okay. Well,
the audio was not bad.
Oops. Anyway, the filament path is moving the spool to the side and running it through here. There is, if you notice in the files, there is an experimental folder. One of the things I worked on is wanting to come up with a solution for like a swing arm setup, like Bruce is doing with the Core 1, but without needing send cut, or metal cut parts. I got the idea that you could use the same cable chain that we use for X and Y, 10 by 11 cable chain, and just not attach it at the toolhead side. All it's doing is holding up some wires from drooping into the build area, and it's really promising. That's why the files are out there. If anybody has any suggestions on that as you play with it, I'm all ears. But those are out there. Morden's printer, I don't know if you have any pictures of it on there. Morden's been running it. Telxoid, there we go. Frigg has it. Frigg posted it there in chat. Thanks, Frigg.
I didn't realize we're not shipping that as stock.
No, it wasn't. Not enough time to bake it. It's not baked. And the solution here on screen is solid and is an improvement over R1. So,
for anybody thinking, yes, we have tried this on Phoenix. No, it does not work because a meter of chain droops dramatically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, oops, again, let's get over here. Lots of little things. There's some changes to the, I know the black there might be hard to see, but some changes to the little covers in the back. They're a little wider, a little different format to hide the screws. And then bringing in the construct keystone jack panel there. So those are kind of the not quite motion system upgrades that are included here. Mm-hmm. The expectation is probably a wider skirt update coming. The other thing, the corners on the skirts have M5 heat sets in them to get rid of the hex nuts. So didn't something with the panel cutout change as well? Can't remember.
No.
Oh, yeah. So
sorry. I thought they were talking about the base panel, not the back panel.
Yeah. The deck panel here, you do not need to change your existing deck panels. The cover here and maybe I'll go, yeah, the cover here will cover the extra little cutouts in an R1 deck panel. They're right here. There's extra cutouts to clear the old mount. You don't need to change that. They're completely covered, works just fine. For the release, though, I got rid of those extra cutouts. So if you're cutting new ones, then it won't have those extras. What about having inverted panels? The design of the Z-stepper mounts allow the panel just sits on top. So if you want to install an inverted electronic setup, it's already set for you.
And no,
there's no
not
change
any
in X over travel, Derpson. What's that, Doc?
No, I was saying I didn't think there was any X over travel change. It was just in Y.
Yeah. So, we talked about the CAD. So, Voron designs have been evolved and iterated on over a long time and used by several different designers using different applications. Right. So, step files is still the normal method of sharing design CAD. We have people using SolidWorks. We have people using Shaper 3D. We have people using Fusion. We have people using Fusion in direct model mode. We have people using Fusion in parametric mode. For this release, since I did a lot of remodeling for my own ease of updates, modeling things from scratch, there is a native CAD folder in the CAD, and that has original history-enabled models for the things I changed. So that is not an expectation that everything is going to be that way, because it's just not possible in a group like ours. When we have someone using SolidWorks and someone using Fusion, you can't retain that history between those things. Because I was able to go from start to finish and remodel these things that I changed for Trident R2, that history is all available. So, and I hope to expand that into full assemblies, but it's not set that way right now. Huge thanks to the whole team that has been part of getting this here. All of the crew. Let me see, I've got... And we brought in several beta testers. So short list, but I'm probably missing some people, list of people that have helped with this, and much appreciated. Adam Storm, Akula Matata, Battle Hottie, Derpamus, Frigg, Mastermind, MC Red, OG Maker, Poiter K, Telxoid, The Rogue Zeta, Thomas F. Gen, Thunder Keys, Yonte, Wrath, Atomic Vector Plotter, Heart K. Who am I missing? I'm missing people, but
I have contributed nothing.
Mastermind says he didn't help at all, but that's not true. There's people that are contributing by chatting in our dev channels, by chatting in voice chat when working on things. I've done some sessions of working on CAD and having people poke in. So huge thanks to everyone. I think what we'll do next is turn it over to Atomic Vector Plotter. An extra huge thanks. This would not be where we are right now, because we insist on releasing full a full release, which includes assembly manual, CAD files, and Atomic Vector Plotter. I'll let you talk about spearheading the assembly manual stuff.
Sounds good. Let me share my screen for a second. And so this is mostly about the process of how the manuals come to be, and a little bit about the scope of a manual. So I just looked it up this morning. We started updating the manual back in January, and we finished about a week ago. So that shows some of the scope and the amount of work going into it. And a little cheeky comment on this title page, figured out is not a build step, is some of the philosophy behind it. And with all the changes to the Z and the motion system, we had a massive amount of changes that went into the build. Yes, 20 new or 28 new pages. That doesn't sound like a lot, but on a 300 page manual, that's still about 10% extra content. Of those originally 290 pages, 218 were updated. It's kind of amazing how many parts show up in all the various diagrams and screenshots if you change Z and XY. It pretty much comes down to everything except the electronics bay, and even some of electronics bay pictures needing to be updated. Pages, 220 updates. I counted at least what was on my file system said. We updated 628 of the images in the screenshot. That number actually isn't representative of how many of those we took multiple times. And to make this process a little bit easier, some of you might have noticed that late last year, we did a bug fix iteration on the manual. That was basically the precursor to this. Previously, it was like some specialized DTP software, which made it like a one-man show to update those documents. We converted it to Google Slides, taking a hint from the V0 manual, which allowed us to collaborate on these much easier with online comments, people leaving notes on slides. Huge shout out again to the beta testers that provided like hundreds of comments on feedback for this. And
hold on a second. I'm seeing a lot of people saying they can't actually see. Can anyone else
I can
see
see
your
it, but
slides?
they may have to go and select to see his screen. So
you might have to start stream
yeah,
on the person. Okay, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just saw a lot of chatter on that.
No, no worries. I'm also happy to share the slides. They are like a last minute yesterday, 10 p.m. I'm just throwing it at Notebook LM. I literally had like 10 lines of like speaker notes to talk about this off the cuff, and this is what it made in like 5 minutes. So lots of AI slop for the folks who don't like it. But I was kind of impressed what it did. But yeah, so going back to the actual topic. So like we literally had like 4 phases of updating the manual. First of all, like when I said 218 pages, we basically needed to go through the manual once or twice to identify what all needs to be updated. Then we needed to update the pages. And everybody who's done manuals knows that that is kind of a drag. I'll be very honest, like when I did the work, after 2 hours, my brain was mushed between like taking the screenshots in Fusion, hiding and unhiding and showing things. After 2 hours, I just noticed that my error rate goes so high that it's better to stop and do something else instead of like retaking screenshots 5, 6, 7 times. Um, and we needed to restructure the manual, like the order of operations with like when do we install the deck panel, when do we install those little accent pieces as a cover up, how do we do the gantry? All of these had like slight changes, but it meant like reordering whole sections of the manual, adding more pages in between. Like you need to install the motor mounts. A little bit later, you need to install deck panel, but then it still takes a while until you're ready to install the accent pieces. So that's where a lot of the new content comes from. And then basically the beta testers building the machines using the draft manual provided feedback. And then we basically went through this process multiple times because, like I said, we started in January. We finished a week ago. Obviously, there was still a lot of engineering and improvements and iterative changes going on. So we needed to go back and update things once more. So highlighting this here on this slide, basically small changes, for example, adding indicator marks to the Z motor mounts, which is, hey, this side to the front, once you look at the new parts, means these parts show up in like 20 different pages. So there's a lot of images that needed to be updated for that. All of this basically means multiple iterations. Right. And yeah, I already covered the flow of the manual changed a little bit. I'm not going to go too much into the details. Give it a read. Basically, your upgrade guide is almost like rebuild your printer. You can leave the electronics bay alone, but everything else, pretty much a change. And yeah, for each of these pages, we needed to make sure we have the proper callouts. We needed to make sure that we have the right parts shown and hidden, like cable zip ties or like T-nuts or everything. So if you look at the CAD, that can be many, many clicks to do this. We definitely needed like the visual continuity checks. I think like last week it was still an edit where it's like, hey, we have a break here. We installed this part a while ago, and then these 2 screenshots it's missing. So all these little things do add up. And yeah, we already covered the beta testers. I skipped this. Huge shout out to the team. It wouldn't have been possible without all that feedback. So 319 pages, hundreds of visual updates. I'm pretty sure all in all, we had probably twice the number of screenshots taken that made it into the manual. And I think after working on manuals for the last 6 months, I do think the collaborative approach of like Google Slides is a huge benefit to the process and makes for much easier changes. And that's it for me.
Awesome. So much thanks. Huge thanks.
Manual is almost as big of an effort as all the design work that needs to get done. And it's usually comes in the last. So by the time you get to the manual, you're completely wiped, like mentally and physically. So thank you, Atomic, for pitching in and setting up a new pipeline that it's huge.
My pleasure. Definitely was a good experience, despite it being long and tedious.
For sure.
Appreciate it.
So coming into this project, we want to have something that's meaningful to release. So a lot of my goals were in the ease of assembly, consistency in assembly, but also performance. And I don't know if Zruncho is ready to ask to speak and come in and do his presentation, but click that ask to speak button in there and it'll pull you up and Doc will pull you in. But awesome. So I'll let you take over and do your thing. Thank you.
Hey, can everyone hear me?
You're a
Yes,
little
but you
faint.
could probably use a little more volume on your mic.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to check. I missed the sound check earlier. Are we good now?
Perfect.
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna have to find the share screen button. And got just a few slides here. All right, great. So hopefully people can see what's on the screen. Can I get one thumbs up and then I'll proceed?
You're good.
Perfect. Yeah, so I think qualitatively, R2 is much better in a lot of ways. I think Steve and the crew have done an amazing job making it just all around better, and I think they deserve a round of applause, so I'll get that started. For me, the front idlers are my favorite part, but there are a lot of really just very clearly well-designed and thoughtfully designed parts, and I really appreciate and respect that. But I want to do something different and show you that, which is numerically quantifying the benefits here. And it's for two reasons. One is thinking like a software developer, we want to make sure that nothing has accidentally regressed, but we also want to put numbers to how much better it might be. So for that, I set up the world's tiniest Trident. This is a test gantry that uses a Rook frame kit along with a balanced tool head mock. And the reason for that tool head mock is that it helps you see the potential of the gantry without any flex in the tool head. And because it's smaller, the flex of the frame is also something that you don't see in the results. And here's one example of one of the tool heads mocks that we use. This is the latest version that I hope to release pretty soon that ensures that with adjustable washers, you can get things really dialed in. The earlier version used in this kind of looked like this one, where you'd have a stack of giant M8 steel fender washers, which is a very cheap way of getting a lot of weight. And then you set the weight to match an expected tool head, and then you try to balance that weight, and then that helps show you what the potential of the gantry could be. So I'll just spend a few minutes here showing the numbers. First off, high ref. Here's a unicorn graph for you. This is an example on the one that I had built. And I want to point out that the results that you're going to see for R2 are always going to vary with the specifics of your environment. Just a few are the size of the frame, the specific tool head, the tension level, the motor currents, and the belt types. All of these affect the graphs that you see. The point of these graphs is that you can get nice unicorn graphs with R2. It exists. It's definitely there. So the first thing I wanted to look at, I was curious about, is we know the belt path is meaningfully shorter. And if you look down here at the bottom right, the blue gantry is R1, and the black and orange one is R2. And if you squint, they look pretty similar in terms of overall bounding volume. The blue one actually used some early versions of the updated idlers before they had been finalized. And if you look at the belt path in yellow, right, you can see how much shorter it's going to be. It's basically cutting both of the rear corners. So in my case, because it's a much shorter belt path than typical, it's going to yield a higher benefit in terms of accelerations with input shaper than you might see. But here's what I found. So with a little over 6% shorter belt path, I found about 6%, 6 to 7% increase in clipper reported accelerations. We're using MZV. And almost all these values are 0% vibration. And for most of these tests, I did 3 runs to make sure we got the same results. They're shown bottom left. Results are pretty consistent. I think there's enough signal here. It's a thumbs up for this one, that the shorter belt path does in fact improve the performance. And what I love about this is it's for very little money, right? All you're doing is adding a few bearings, which is pretty cheap. The second test that I wanted to do is the effect of double supported shafts. And I like this one because the hypothesis is that it's going to help, because that shaft, when it's cantilevered, should act as a spring. Didn't know if that was the case. I didn't know if it would show up in the measurements. It turns out that yes, there is in fact a real effect. It was a consistent effect, and it turned out to be about 3 or 4%, depending on which axis you used. And all that requires is the addition of the orange plastic here highlighted with bearing in there, and then there's a little C-clip that you can see that helps retain it in place. So double supported shafts, we know it's a better design. It turns out to yield a measurable improvement, which is great. The third is a question mark for you personally. So I don't know what the recommendations are exactly for Trident going forward, but when you have a double supported shaft, one of the previous areas of the design that might have caused hesitation to increase the tension is gone. And so PF makes 2.7, I think, is a common tension value. You can go a bit higher. There may be some reliability trade-offs. So I would wait to hear recommendations from the Voron crew for this. Maybe you had 2.5 or 2.2 or some lower value beforehand. But if you bump up the tension, there's going to be a meaningful improvement in your input shaper results, and then a reduction in the corresponding ringing that you get when the printer is going around a sharp edge. So here is one example of just turning the knobs, and these new front idlers, I think, also support going to higher tensions because they're rigid all around. There is no motion at all. These are, I think, the idlers to end all idlers because I don't know how you improve them at this point without compromising in some way. So the measured values I got on the test gantry, 6.5 in Y, 7.2 in X. The fact that they're the same in X and Y is actually pretty interesting to me. Your values may see lower relative Y because on a bigger gantry, the effect of the weight of the X is going to be relatively larger. But again, these are meaningful benefits. And just summarizing it, if you didn't pay attention for the last 5 minutes, there's quantified better performance. And the surprise to me is that it's very low cost delta. It's just the addition of those bearings. So the prints should be somewhat better. Now, yes, if you move to bigger belts or you added quad XY, then yes, you would see a bigger delta. But for new R2 builds, they should perform somewhat better than R1. And if this, to me, just gives another reason to upgrade, even if the reason wasn't so much for performance, it's for all these nice quality of life and flexibility benefits. I think all of these do combine in some way. Again, it's going to vary with your system, but this is a meaningful benefit, and I thought it'd be cool to celebrate it on this stream. We'll share the graphs after. There's no shortage. We'll make all the data used for this public. Cool. Were there any questions on the test?
Fantastic.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for doing all of this enormous amount of data crunching, because normally we just come out here and say, trust me, bro. But like, this is vastly better than what we've done in the past.
Yeah, the surprise to me is how repeatable input shaper measurements are. Some of the tests, every test gave the exact same number reported.
That's amazing.
So there's a pretty high degree of trust that not only have we not progressed, but we've made a meaningful step forward without materially changing the cost, which is.
And that means your lab setup is very good.
It's just a Rook frame and the same parts that are now available, I believe.
The simpler the better.
Mm-hmm. So any questions come through, we can go ahead and just kind of cover questions. I failed to mention at the beginning of this, I wanted to address the soon, because I thought it was intention or point. It was interesting. At Rocky Mountain, we revealed this, right? And we said actual soon, not Voron soon. And for anybody who heard me actually try to quantify that, I said weeks, probably more than 4, but not months. And here we are at 7 weeks today. So I meant to say that earlier.
32 weeks.
Less than a month. So this is actual soon. So extrapolate that to what you want. Can you open the garage door?
No. I want to mention the implications that I've alluded to earlier. Since this gantry is now the gantry, basically, other than the V0, which just does its own thing. The next iteration of V2 is going to be using this gantry, obviously, that you've put a lot of work into. But as anybody has tried before, you cannot take design with history enabled and bring it into solid model workflow, which means the next R2 needs to be the next V2 will have to be parametric or with design history enabled. And I need to go basically remove my brain, put a new one in, and relearn Fusion properly this time. And really, I blame Zarancha for all of this because he did a little TED talk at Vice, and it inspired everybody, and it's the right thing to do.
There's so much more I want to do. I want to do proper assemblies with proper
Yes.
parts and such, derived components and whatnot. Ella asked regarding incremental updates, what do you think the next priorities? My preference is probably skirts. I want to get rid of. I do agree. We need to update the display. That is a tough one though because of the variety of displays that are out there. So that's something that I want to see work on. Yeah, that's probably the big one.
If Big Tree Tech can stop revving the 5-inch every like 3 months by just moving the connectors a little bit, that would be fantastic. We can just standardize on that. And
yeah, there's so much that would be left to do. It was just get a meaningful update out was the goal.
this is good. This is the right thing to do.
Yeah.
This is the way.
Well, the front idlers with the 1515 mount be out soon. So I had done the
index.
These are the R2 idlers with integrated mounting points for a 1515 extrusion for index. Yes, that'll be released very soon. So all that's done. I just need to publish it.
So the STL upgrade list is everything but the skirts.
And even parts of the skirts.
Yep.
So something I didn't mention, there is a revision on the skirts. The corner pieces, the sides are shifted by 1 millimeter to tighten up the skirt gaps. So that's a kind of a stealth change in there. Since I was changing the corners for M5 heat sets instead of hex nuts anyway, that is done, but it is not. Oh, that scared me.
There's a cattail.
He just jumped down from the Phoenix. That doesn't have the full cat out there because I didn't model them from scratch. When I model them from scratch, they'll go out there.
But it does have a full cat.
Yes.
Yeah. What up, Orange Boy?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not happy. He's not happy about that.
Yeah, he's fine.
Yeah.
What else do we got here?
Inverted electronics are not going to be stock on this. They are, if you want to do it, you're welcome to it, but electronics in the base is the intended release version.
The enabling the mod community is a good thing and a priority. And that's one of those things that just happened to be the design direction really worked right in with that mod. So
yeah, our intent is not to take a bunch of mods and basically just incorporate them into the design and say, this is now the Voron OEM, basically. What we really need to do is or what we're really trying to do, I guess, is make life of the modders easier. So there's less friction in what they can do, which enables the community to create a whole bunch of new stuff that we haven't even thought about. Because that's the whole point of crowdsourcing this whole thing is, 1,000 people have better ideas than, 2 to 3 people.
what else
I think
here?
index and tool changers and new tool heads are all kind of examples where it's an open platform. You can do what you want, and you have a lot of benefits increasingly over closed source printers that are in the news for their drama.
Mm-hmm.
Oh boy.
And we didn't dive in on this release with a full drag chain umbilical based setup, just because once again the intent was to use the full chain layout, and this is the drag chain partial was just for if people wanted to go and play umbilical and supported there. And once again, that is not a release; it is a mod in testing. So it may work for you, it may not. And if you want to experiment with that and do a full drag chain up top, I mean, once again, the CAD's available. It's certainly your choice to give it a spin.
Yeah, the reference design is still cable chains. Everything is set up, and a big part of that is this revision didn't include the toolhead, and the proper attachment points for a good umbilical setup aren't included in this. It is very easy, and my preference has been running an umbilical to the toolhead, but the reference design is still going through chains because that's the complete solution. Umbilical is not a complete solution, although it's an easy one.
So about tool heads, eventually.
I feel like there's enough tool heads. I feel like most people are, or most people in this community that are like super into modifying their machines are running something else, not Stillburner. There's, there's a billion tool heads out there at this point, and some
Is
of
it
them.
actual eventually or Voron eventually?
I think it's Voron eventually. No, it's actually eventually because we have to rev. Like basically, Stealth Burner was an evolution of an Afterburner. And 6 years in, I'm starting to question whether or not the choices that we made, or the choices that I made, with Afterburner were the correct ones for long-term path for our toolheads. That being, fully integrated monolith system versus a more modular system where people can swap, pick and choose whatever they want. And while it looks really good on, pictures, how often do you look at your toolhead while it's printing?
Yep.
Thunderkeys mentioned there's going to be an actual soon revision for Stealth Burner, and that's true.
In fact, if you're at Murph or are attending, Thunder Keys, I believe, has a mock-up of the proposed revisions that we're looking at for Clockwork 2. Blown up to how many? Is it like 350% or 300% or something like that?
I don't know if I was going to mention if any of the folks that were part of beta testing this or any of the other crew want to speak, just raise your hand and Doc will bring you in. You're welcome to. You don't have to.
Yep. So
looks like Thunder Keys is there.
Yep. Let's see. It may only allow 5 speakers, so I might have to boot someone or get someone to drop. Just so. Oh wait, no. Thunder Keys, I can let them in. We can have more than 5 speakers. Sweet.
Oh, perfect.
Hello from Midwest Rep Rap Festival. So I have a 350% mostly. Clockwork 2.5 is what we're calling it. Not final form, but current status. As well as sort of functional parts, including a tube compact that was made in the last couple weeks. But yes, we are planning on doing a minor revision of Clockwork 2 and Stealth Burner to basically integrate some of the changes that were integrated with Phoenix. There's been some changes since then, but don't expect a transformative update, but it's minor quality of life things that hopefully people will appreciate if you're still rocking Stealth Burner. And then over here, if you want to see an R2, which I'm sure I haven't been able to watch the stream, but here's an R2 and it's printing and it's working great and lots of interest to show at it.
Awesome.
So
Thank you.
How hot is it?
it's
How hot is it
actually
there?
very comfortable here today. I think it's in like the 80s. And this building has air conditioning. So it's not your typical. It's in the Elkhart County Convention Center, which has air conditioning.
Oh my
Nice.
God, that's huge.
So and the barn that it normally is held in is overflow, but it's pretty much empty because
Okay.
everyone wants to be where the air conditioning is. So,
So one thing I will bring up is a little bit of deviation, but about Murph and whatnot. So KB3D is raffling off
yes, I can
auctioning
go down
off
there and show it.
a V0 that has been auctioned off multiple times, with all proceeds benefiting the Sanjay Mortimer Foundation. I just put a link to that in chat, and I would encourage all of you to at least look at it and perhaps jump in and bid if possible, because once again, all the profits go to Sanjay Mortimer Foundation, and it does include shipping anywhere in the United States for the person who wins that. So please consider contributing or bidding or whatnot on that. And
Almost there.
Yep, thank you, Thunder Keys, for taking a walk over to show off the little printer. And there it is. So the SMF edition, or the Sanjay edition, V0, once again, please consider bidding on it. And
it's a very snazzy printer. So, and it would be the third time it's been donated. So continue the tradition.
Yep. And I'll make an announcement on Discord here in a little bit, but since we were talking Murph and everything else, wanted to highlight that. And then Mastermind,
Nice.
I'm switching to him, is showing his printer flying away, printing a supersized test cube.
Yes, sir.
And this is a more modified one. You'll notice also the motors at the front and everything, but it is incorporating the Z stage from the development work we've done.
Yep. So I'm going to apologize for it being a little bit loud over here. I'm at the LDO booth, which is where my printer is, and they're doing a giveaway right now. But yes, mostly I wanted to show that this could either be updated in stages, such as me with the Z and then just with the XY joints, or you can do the entire thing, or however you want to do it. Just kind of mostly showcasing that this, like the XY joints, work with existing mods out there. So there's nothing special that you really need to take into consideration there.
Cool.
Sorry, guys.
And
Excuse me.
Bye, Mastermind.
all right. And so, Steve, I don't have any audio from you. You're muted. There you go.
Yeah. Yep. I was just seeing anybody else coming in or any other questions. I know we missed a lot of questions coming through.
Yeah, chat was good about responding to a lot of them. So thank you all for contributing there.
The total bed shift, I think you can go 8 millimeters back. Maybe a little more than 8 to 10 millimeters back. I know on the index build here, in order to minimize loss travel on it, I moved the bed back 8 millimeters. And there's still a decent amount of space left.
Also, if anyone has questions that haven't been answered, it'd be good to ask them again, because it's hard as
Yes.
presenters to keep up with the questions coming in. There was one question, I
Absolutely.
don't know if it was answered. I saw Nim Gray had linked that one to me. This goes to Steve. So do you need new motors, or what length of motors shaft do you need to make use of the double shear benefit?
That's a great question. If you want to make use of the bearings, reach the bearings with it, 35 is a common motor shaft length, but you can, if for some reason you had like 32 or something, I think that would be like the minimum. But 35 millimeter is the common size that's out there. That would be the shortest you could use. Can we see what's on the other side of the garage door? My truck. But I can't open it because the cats are around, and I can't let the cats out.
And there's no benefit to going longer than what you need to get this shaft supported, unless it's you can find 40s or 55s or whatever in stock, and you can't find 35s somewhere, or they're more expensive. So long as it's 35 plus, you're good.
You can use
Yeah.
80s if you want. There you go. They're
Yep.
sticking out a little bit. They're censored, of course. The shafts are too long, so.
These are 55s.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to give people an idea, that's a 55.
Yeah, so if you have 55s, you can put the BTT ducts on top of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can.
So the long shaft motors are optional. So if you're upgrading from an R1 Trident to an R2 and you don't want to buy new motors, you don't have to. The double shear support is optional. It is not mandatory. So do what works best for you and your budget.
And there's data to support whether or not you can make a decision basically looking at that slide that just covers the switch from double shear to single shear, and the percentage increase. And you can basically go, is that worth it to me? Yes or no. Make your own choices, basically. It's
Yeah.
not required, it's optional.
Yeah, and to the question about what bearings for double shear, it is F625s, just like we use everywhere else. So it's yet more just parts commonality. So it's really, is it 695? Sorry, yes, it's F695. I always get 625s and 695s and everything else flip flop. So thank you for correcting me there.
And I want to add to what Reth just added in chat that the value of double shear isn't just that it itself removes some springiness and everything is a spring in a printer. It's that it helps you bump the tension up with confidence, and the benefits may be more about the tension and the stability at higher tension rather than just the stability from having a double supported shaft.
Yep, 100%.
Couple of questions that came up. The cat's name is Oscar, and are there any specific goals you want to achieve in future Voron printers? So if I switch that a little bit and say goals for Trident, I think it's continue to revise the rest of the printer and make it as solid of a platform as possible. So the whole goal here is to make an easier to build, more consistent to build printer, and then that can be a foundation for the huge, wide mod community. As far as other printers, I think I'd open that up to Max or anyone else to answer as far as what are goals for that we might have for other printers.
I think it echoes what you just said, basically. Just have a solid lineup of platforms people can choose from, to either just build and use, like, open source printers that go burr and aren't hampered by any of the closed source things that are in the news these days. Or, use as a jumping off platform to create something completely different, or just use as a motion platform effectively. I think the one example that really stood out to me was when I got a tour on University of Washington, where they're using basically modified V0s to do bioprinting. It kind of an eye opener to me, honestly, because they basically said, yes, we can achieve the precision that we were getting with $50 to $100,000 machines custom built with this, off-the-shelf extrusions and 3D printed parts. And with a little bit of know-how and honestly, you know, a bunch of grad students, free time effectively. If you throw enough grad students at a problem, it just solves itself, basically, is what I learned. But it's kind of remarkable. And now, basically, now that they've done all that, they're now pushing for more of open source initiative across the academia of like, don't use these specialized machines that are like, you know, locked down and proprietary, but really in like they're just custom built in some shed. If you're gonna build, you know, if you're gonna have printers that are built in the shed, you might as well build them in your own shed. So pretty cool. Now they're launching this
Ella,
initiative to like do actual studies and how to run it and do it, so other people can do it.
Ella asks on the Z motor mounts. I tried doing something similar to Prusa Core 1 mounts at first. Is that flexible motor mount something you considered? So the whole Z, me wanting to change the Z, started with building. When I did the first build, before I had the index parts, I was building this Trident. And when I installed the Z steppers, I noticed that the lead screw wasn't going through the center of where the lead screw nut mounts in the Z pivot points. And I was shimming the stepper in the motor mount to see what amount of change it took to get it to center. And it was just like little paper thin shims that got it to center. But that's what started the whole thing of wanting to change the mount design. I did look at the solution that Prusa had done and trying to figure out how do you do that in without requiring someone have a laser cutter and some whatever they're using there or whatever. But it really came down to just the design in the way it prints and the way it mounts to the frame, locks it into a more aligned setup. So I did look at it, but I didn't pursue it. Did we have any other questions come through?
Someone asked about a Viking edition, and I have no clue what that means.
Viking edition V2 when? I have no idea.
The Viking edition?
I don't know what a Viking edition is, so.
Yep. I'm just gonna skip past that one.
Default bed placement is the same. Yep. Default is the same, but the opportunity, you just change those 3 pivot printed parts, and you can shift it forward or back. Zentro, what ADXL sensor do you use for your testing?
You just put it in chat,
That's a question in there.
Yeah, it's a Fizetzi PIS BIS. So it's one of the little boards that has USB and I think an STM32 and then a regular ADXL 345. And that toolhead mock made sure that the cable was attached with a screw clamp so that nothing was moving to help make sure those graphs were as clean as possible.
Was the motivation behind the extra white travel for the index compatibility?
So Trident R2 has been in development for far before I knew index was a thing.
Right.
But there is a giant influence on ideas in what ended up the final product, the final iteration. So start working on things and looking at stealth changer build, the index build. What are some of the constraints in terms of print area, and realizing that you can let the Y carriages over travel a little bit and gain some travel there, and you can I can shift things around in Z to change some adjustment and where the bed position is and stuff like that. So there's definitely an influence in wanting to maximize my index build and what goes in here. But the nice thing is that's applicable for any. I mean, you're just looking at build area and giving that adjustment is applicable to any of the tool changers. Any instance where you want to put a nozzle brush somewhere different or
Purge bucket.
stuff like that. To answer a question that is specific to index, the setup loses 10 millimeters in Y over any like 250. I have a 250 by 240 build area on my index.
That's almost nothing. 10 millimeters is tiny.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big deal. I think that helps Trident be a great platform for index.
It's a width of a pinky, roughly.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, and the nice slim front idlers get out of the way for other tool heads. The XY joints have a little more clearance for tool heads as well.
It's also worthwhile calling out that the new Z mounts lower the lead screws. So if you had tool heads which were colliding with the lead screws, that problem is solved now.
That was on my list, and I forgot to mention it. The Z steppers are lowered 16 millimeters, which does take us right. We're using every bit of a regular 300 millimeter lead screw. But there is no chance of crazy cooling duct setups or whatever running into the Z lead screws anymore.
It's exciting.
Who will be releasing V2 when it's ready to come out? Voron.
Like, do I know something? Is there something I don't know?
V2, let's put this out there. V2 is on Voron soon timeframe right now.
Yes. Because there's a giant bird in front of it, just blocking the way. Just a fat albatross, just in line. Born shower in April.
I don't know what scale of soon 0.3 is on. Just say soon. TM.
Yep, that is a Icarus question.
Yep.
2 plus 2 weeks.
What is this? Oh. What about the Voron yacht?
When one of us wins the lottery.
Yeah. Yachts are expensive.
To be honest, we are saving up for the jet right now, so to make Rev happy.
Yep.
This is slowly turning into the LTT show where they talked about getting either a yacht or a jet and turning it into a gaming thing.
Hey, Steve,
now that Trident is released, Phoenix is going to be a focus in getting documentation together.
Yep.
So there is an upvoted question. I do want to go there and check if it's within the scope for today, Steve. Laws and what the community can do that are on the books.
Oh boy.
I think of all the opportunities, this is a good one to let people know, remind them of the importance and what's at stake.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the best thing that people can do is go out to that the 3dprintingnerd.com/AB2047. There is so much more information in there in detail than I can iterate right here, but especially reaching out to your representatives and let them know your thoughts on that. It is something that we're going to be over at the Capitol in about a week and a half, showing our support for David and Marlene. The person from Things are going to be speaking out against in front of the safety committee and some other committee. But those are listed on that website that Zeta posted in the chat. That is important, and the more eyes we can get on there, the more people that we can get emailing those senators and calling, especially if you're in California, you can reach out to your own representative. Marlene, I did get it. God, awesome. So.
All right. Any other Trident related questions before we wrap up? Inside of an hour and a half, it looks like. So.
Yeah, we're doing really good. So everything is released. There are a couple of little loose ends to tie up. I'm going to go in and edit the sourcing guide needs some tweaks to it. The release notes need to be put in. The release has been made, but I need to go back in and edit the notes. But all the files out there, all the CAD is out there, and the website build configurator is all out there. Little things like adding pictures here and there are going to happen over time. But please reach out in the help channels, as an issue on GitHub. If you see anything that we missed, there's always something that we missed.
Yep.
But there is enough out there right now. Go forth, build it. Let me know what you think. I really want to see if someone can, not intentionally, but if someone ends up belting it wrong, if that's possible. Because a lot of people are familiar. There's a certain way you can belt the previous version, and it's not obvious, but it causes problems. And that should be eliminated now. But I want to see if that is the case.
Somebody asked the question if Steve's going to build or rebuild a Trident into an R2, and I don't believe Steve has any Tridents left that are not R2.
I do actually.
Oh, there we go. Content.
I have Trident.
Yes.
Trident is going to get built as a Trident R2. Sometime in the next couple of months, I'll be starting that.
Trident Resurrection.
Yes. I'm pretty sure that Taylor, Canuck Creator, is going to start his Trident R2 build pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. Yeah, and I would imagine you're going to see other folks building that when we want to use corner cubes.
Mizumi cubes.
The only way to fly.
So yeah, once again, huge thanks to everybody who was part of this. Like I said, we will be doing smaller. I have no idea what the versioning looks like when we revise the skirts. I think it just ends up getting rolled into Trident R2, just the additional, because I think if we did another bigger change to the gantry, that would be where we would invoke an R3 or something. But
all right. Well, I think things are kind of settling out, and we've addressed the vast majority of your questions. As Steve said, we really want to encourage you all to get out there, print it, build it, see what issues you identify in the course of your own build. Let us know so that we can continue to iterate on all this as well. Once again, thank you to everyone who's been a part of this behind the scenes in terms of the alpha and beta work. And offering feedback in terms of the design, testing, collecting data for like Zoran and Reth and everyone, as well as AVP and everyone who contributed to the manual. I frequently say this: we stand on the shoulder of shoulders of giants, not tridents, giants. And we really couldn't do this without all the support we get from the community and the members of the team. So thank you once again, everyone. And with that, enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.